Okay, in this video we're going to be working on week 2, day 1. Alright, so this is, let me turn my pencil the right way, week 2, day 1. Alright, so the very first one says to simplify, so we're just simplifying the expression. Alright, so this is like with this, so we're going to combine them. And this is like with this, so we'll combine those. All right, so 4b plus 8b is 12b. And the b is not like with anything else, so we're going to do our negative 3 plus 4, which is 1. All right, and that's a positive 1. So it's 12b plus 1. Okay, let's go on to the next question. All right, so the next one is 8 times n plus 5. So this is a distributing. I'm going to multiply the 8 by everything in the parentheses. So 8 times m plus 8 times 5. All right, so 8 times m is just 8m because that's still an unknown. And 8 times 5 is 40. So this is my simplified answer. All right, number 3. This one is a large one. Okay, so I have 2 distributings I have to do in this. And remember, I got to take the whole thing, the whole negative 2 through. So it's going to be negative 2 times an x, drop down my plus, negative 2 times the 5. All right, and I'm going to bring this whole thing through this one. So it's going to be negative 3 times x plus, drop down my plus sign, negative 3 times the 4. All right, so let's do all of our multiplication next. So negative 2x plus, that's going to be a negative 10. It's going to be a negative 3x plus negative 12. All right, let's get our log terms together. So it always goes in that order. Do all multiplication, division, and distributing. Then number 2, get like terms together. And number 3, do your adding and subtracting. So let's get our like terms together. So I got those 2. Negative 10, negative 12 are also like. So this one is negative 2 minus 3, which is going to be a negative 5x. And negative 10 minus 12 is going to be a negative 22. If you're still having trouble with your negatives and positives, check out my crash course to negative and positive numbers. It will help you because this is going to be a reoccurring theme in the class, and I kind of assume that you knew how to do operations with rational numbers before this class. All right, so check that crash course out if you're having trouble with your negatives and positives. All right, number 4. Write the word phrases for the algebraic expression. You all are going to have different things, okay? You can write it different ways. The first thing I need to do is identify my operations. I have subtraction right here, right? This is my subtraction. But I also have multiplication right here, okay? So I have subtraction and I have multiplication. Ugh, multiplication. Gosh. All right, so I also have a variable. I need to say what my variables are of t, okay? And I have some numbers. I have a constant of 142, and I have a coefficient of 19. Okay, or you could say it's negative 19, whichever way you want to look at it. All right, so I could go in the simplest terms of describing this, and I could say, just use, my simplest terms, I could say 142 less than means subtract, but, it comes after, which is not correct. Sorry, I was looking at a different problem on my paper. All right, 142 minus 19 times t. Okay, so that's the simplest way that I could write it. I could turn it into a word problem and say something like, and remember, your answers may not be the same thing as me. As long as you're showing the same operations and the same variables, you are fine. I could be really creative and say, I have $142. I want to buy T telephones. Okay? Each telephone costs $19, right? Blah, 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 blah. 142 minus 19t is an expression that shows how much money I will have after buying telephones. So, of course, everybody's is going to be different. You can either get super creative or you can just do it in its simplest form. I don't really mind. It's up to you. They both say the same thing. It's really good to know how this would be written as a word problem, though. And the reason that is really good to know is because you want to make sure that whenever you're doing a word problem, you can get it back into the expression, okay? You need to know the complex meaning, but baby steps, right? All right, let's do number 5. So for the rest of these, I'm just going to write its simplest, okay? Its simplest way. Okay, so the simplest way that I can write this is 7 more than 16 times g. All right? But you could be creative with that as long as this is what it means. I'm going to take 16, I'm going to multiply it by g, and I'm going to add 7. That has to be the gist of what you're saying. All right, let's also do number 6, since I have some room on here. Okay, so 6 is 6 times the sum of 4 and y. The first thing I see is this wording, the sum of. That means parentheses. And because it's sum, it means an added parentheses. And I can see by the 4 and y that that is what goes inside my parentheses. Times means just that, times. So I have 6 times this parenthesis. So I'm just going to write my 6 out here, and here is my expression. It was that easy. All right? Let's go on to number 7. Okay, so number 7 says 1/3 of, remember of is a word of multiplication. 1/3 of the sum of 4, and p. Okay, so I have the sum of again, that means parentheses, and it means it's an adding parentheses. So 4 plus p, all right, and 1/3 is being times to it. So put 1/3 on the outside. Okay, let's do number 8. All right, so the sum of, again, means parentheses with adding. And I can tell right here that this is going to be m and 5. Now the beginning you can take two different ways. You can either look at it as a 1/2, okay, and put it in multiplication, or you can look at that as a word of division, and you can write it like this. It's this divided by half. I take half of it, which means to divide by 2. Either way will get you the same exact answer later when we start evaluating expressions. So go ahead and write it either way. To less than m divided by 8. Okay, less than means subtraction, and it goes at the end of the expression. So I know whatever I'm doing, after I do it, I'm subtracting 2. Remember, it's a turnabout word. It turns around the meaning, puts the 2 to the end of the sentence. Okay, so the rest of it says m divided by 8. Okay, so it's divided by it, which means it would be m over 8. If it said, the words are eluding me, that means the backwards. I think we have an example on one of the days of the backwards, so we'll get to it. All right, 1/2 of the difference of p and 7. I know I kind of went through the parenthesis words really quickly because we ran out of time, but this is parentheses with an X. Anything that starts with the and of and uses a word that means the answer to, this is the answer to a subtraction problem, that is parentheses. And we see that p and 7 go inside these parentheses. Of means multiplication, so I put 1/2 in front of it. All right, let's try number 11. All right, so number 11 says write the expression for the sum of, so I have the words the sum of 1 and twice a number. Okay, so this means parentheses, and I'm adding in the parentheses. And it tells me it's going to be 1 and twice, which means 2 times a number. So I can write that as 2n, right? Okay, so write an expression for the sum of 1 and twice a number. If you let n be any number, will the result always be odd? Okay, so let's do a little test. We're going to try 1, 2, and 3. And this is actually getting us ready for next week when we're going to be evaluating expressions. So I am going to put these numbers in for n, and we're going to find the answer. So first I'm going to put 1 in for n. Okay, so this means multiplication, so that's going to be 2 plus, 1, which is 3. All right, let's try it again with a 2 in it. 1 plus 2 times 2, which is 4, plus 1, which is I keep putting the answer, which is 5. Okay, one more. We're going to put 3 in. So 1 plus 2 times 3, So the 6 plus 7. Oh my gosh, I did it again. 1 plus 6, which equals 7. So all of our answers came out odd. And the reason is because anytime you multiply something by a 2, it's going to give you an even answer, okay? Because it's doubling it to its positive. It's positive 4. That's what doubling means. It's always going to be positive no matter what when you double. And then you're taking it to the next number on the number line because you're adding 1, which will always make the answer go back to negative. All right, so let's look. That is all actually for week 2, day 1. Be sure to keep watching the video till you get all those problems right and you understand them really well. I want you to be thinking about evaluating this week. That number 11 problem is actually going to end up in your discussion. All right, so be thinking about how you solve that this week, and I'll see you guys around. Be sure to tell me if you have any more questions.